After a long day, when you finally get home, close the door, and everything goes quiet, you sit down, take a deep breath, and for a moment, everything feels still. In the modern world, complete solitude feels like an incredible luxury. It feels peaceful, it feels restorative, it feels like one of the few places where you can finally get your energy back. It is a rare kind of silence, a silence that feels safe. But for 99.9% of human history, that exact same situation meant something entirely different. If you suddenly found yourself alone, with no voices, no footsteps, and no firelight in the distance, you would not feel relieved. You would not feel calm. You would feel pure, unfiltered terror. Because in the ancient world, cutting ties with other people was not called enjoying personal space. It was called waiting to die. So let us begin with the wilderness, because the wilderness is the reason human psychology looks the way it does. If you want to understand why you feel the way you do in social situations today, you first have to understand the brutal world your ancestors were built for. Before cities, before agriculture, and before weapons, humans were astonishingly fragile. Everything in the natural world worked against us. We did not have thick fur to survive freezing nights. We did not have sharp claws, armor, or venom to defend ourselves against predators. We did not have fangs. We did not have speed. And honestly, we were not even especially good at running. When the sun went down, the world plunged into absolute darkness. Not dimness, not low light. Darkness. The kind of darkness where you cannot see 10 feet in front of you. And predators moved silently through the tall grass. During the day, securing enough calories to survive was already incredibly difficult for a single person. You had to search for food, stay alert, navigate rough terrain, and avoid injury, all at the same time. If you were alone, even the smallest mistake could become a definitive death sentence. A single moment of distraction while walking, a minor sickness that gave you a fever, a misstep on rough ground, or simply tripping over a rock and twisting an ankle. That could be enough, because there would be no one to bring you clean water, no one to help you move, no one to keep the fire burning while you slept, no one to warn you if something was approaching in the dark. You could not sleep and stay on guard at the same time. You could not hunt well and watch your back at the same time. You could not get injured and recover at the same time. But inside a group, everything changed. More people meant more eyes watching the tree line. Someone always heard the rustling leaves first. Someone noticed movement before you did. Someone was responsible for stoking the fire in the dead of night. If you were sick, someone could share half of their hard-won berries with you. If you were injured, someone could slow down and help you move. If you were frightened, at least you were frightened together. Your survival was not just your own problem anymore. It was outsourced to the collective strength of the tribe. That is how fragile we were, and that is how powerful a group was. Years ago, a student asked the famous anthropologist Margaret Mead what she considered to be the first sign of human civilization. The student expected her to say something like a clay pot, a fish hook, or a sharpened stone, but she did not. Margaret Mead said the first sign of civilization was a healed human femur. That answer sounds strange at first, but the more you think about it, the more devastating it becomes. The femur is the longest and thickest bone in the human body. In the natural world, an animal with a broken leg has only one fate. It cannot run, it cannot hunt, it cannot keep up, it cannot reach the river to drink. And so it waits. It waits in pain, in weakness, in exposure, until something stronger finds it. No animal survives a broken leg long enough for the bone to heal on its own. Healing a femur requires at least 6 full weeks of absolute rest. 6 weeks. That is an impossibly long time in the wild. So when archaeologists find a healed human femur in an ancient cave, that bone tells a moving story. It means someone made a decision that completely defied ordinary animal instinct. Someone stayed behind to care for the injured person. Someone accepted the burden. Someone risked slowing down the entire tribe's movement in order to carry them forward. Someone spent 6 long and dangerous weeks hunting for them, protecting them, and sharing extremely precious food with them. That is not just compassion, that is a survival strategy. It is the ultimate proof that the group was the only reason we survived. And more importantly, it meant something even deeper. It meant you belonged. You had a place, you had a role, you had relationships, and those were not emotional luxuries. They were not optional. They were literal conditions for survival. But we also have to understand something darker. In the resource-starved ancient world, the tribe's protection was not free. The tolerance of the group was limited. Food was scarce. Energy was scarce. Mobility mattered. And if you angered the tribe, broke the rules, became too costly, or were seen as a useless burden, you could face the harshest punishment imaginable: exile. Being pushed out of the camp and into the dark was not just social rejection. It was not just being left out. It was a delayed execution. It meant you were now alone in the exact environment human beings were least capable of surviving. It meant no fire, no shared food, no watchful eyes, no one to carry you if you got injured, no one to notice if you did not wake up. It meant that your life expectancy had just collapsed. That is how severe social rejection used to be. So over thousands of generations, human beings evolved to survive not just predators, but each other. A brutal evolutionary filter was applied to our species. Those who were ignored, rejected, pushed aside, or unable to fit in, disappeared. Not because they were not physically strong enough, but because they were left alone. The ones who survived were the ones who successfully stayed under the umbrella of the group. And to do that, you had to prove something constantly. You had to prove that you were useful. You had to prove that you were not dangerous. You had to prove that you understood the rules, respected the hierarchy, and could be trusted. That is the world your nervous system was designed for. So humans did not evolve stronger bodies. We evolved something else, something far less visible, but just as important: a highly energy-consuming sensitivity to other people, an extreme, almost paranoid awareness of social signals. Your brain adapted to become a radar system for the smallest signs of social rejection. You evolved to care deeply about how others looked at you. You learned to constantly monitor your own behavior. You developed the instinct to worry whether you were liked, valued, and accepted by the collective. And this sensitivity became absurdly fine-tuned. Even a tiny pause in a conversation, a slight shift in someone's tone of voice, a delayed response, a micro expression of impatience on a face across the fire, a moment where someone looked at somebody else before looking back at you. You would notice all of it. And not only would you notice it, you would remember it, replay it, analyze it. Because for 300,000 years, those tiny social cues meant something incredibly serious. They meant the tribe might be turning against you. They meant your place in the group might be weakening. They meant you could be heading toward the one thing your body was built to fear most: being left alone in the dark. If you think this is just a psychological metaphor, modern science shows that it is a physiological reality. In 2003, neuroscientist Naomi Eisenberger at UCLA conducted an experiment that changed the way we understand human emotion. She placed volunteers inside an fMRI scanner so she could observe their brain activity in real time. Then she had participants play a simple virtual ball tossing game on a screen with 2 other players. At first, everything was normal. The ball moved around evenly. Everyone was included. But halfway through the game, the other 2 players suddenly stopped throwing the ball to the volunteer. They intentionally excluded them. What the scanner showed in that moment was astonishing. When the participants felt left out, a specific region of the brain immediately lit up. It is called the dorsal anterior cingulate cortex. And this is not some vague emotional area. It is one of the same regions involved in registering physical pain. The pain of a broken bone, a burn, a deep cut. To your brain, social rejection does not just feel sad. It feels like an actual injury. That sounds dramatic, but it gets even stranger. Later, scientists pushed this theory further with a follow-up study. They took people who had recently experienced severe social rejection and heartbreak. Then they gave half of them a placebo and the other half a common over-the-counter painkiller like Tylenol. The result was almost absurd. The people who took the physical painkiller reported a meaningful reduction in their emotional pain. Think about what that means. To your nervous system, the difference between a physical wound and social rejection is much smaller than you would like to believe. Your body literally struggles to distinguish between being stabbed with a spear and being ignored by the group. Pain is pain. And once you understand that, a lot of modern life starts to make sense. This is the mismatch we live with today. For hundreds of thousands of years, human beings lived in small, tightly bonded tribes of around 150 people. You knew everyone. Everyone knew you. Your social world was intimate, stable, and deeply consequential. But today, we live in giant cities and move through massive social networks. We interact with strangers, coworkers, acquaintances, and invisible audiences online. We deal with unread messages, delayed replies, awkward meetings, performative professionalism, public speaking, networking events, and endless soft social judgments. And yet your brain has not updated its software. It still runs on ancient savannah logic. It still treats social uncertainty as a survival issue. So when you have to speak up in a crowded meeting room, when you send a message and do not get a reply for hours, when you walk into a room and suddenly become aware of your hands, your face, your voice, your posture, when you feel nervous in a crowd, afraid of saying the wrong thing or being judged, that tightness in your chest and those sweating palms are not a malfunction. They are not random, and they are not proof that something is wrong with you, because to your ancient brain, being ignored does not equal discomfort. Being ignored equals danger. A bad presentation does not equal embarrassment. A bad presentation equals a possible drop in social standing. And in the old world, a drop in social standing could become a threat to survival. Even if you logically know that one awkward conversation will not truly hurt you, emotionally, your body responds as if a leopard is in the room. That is why social situations can feel so intensely draining. You are not simply talking. You are running high-intensity background calculations. You are managing facial expressions, monitoring other people's reactions, adjusting tone, predicting consequences, trying to remain acceptable, trying to remain safe. You wear a mask, you maintain etiquette, you track the emotional weather of the room, and all of that costs energy, a huge amount of energy. This is a massive, invisible internal drain. It quietly and relentlessly pulls down your mental energy, your emotional bandwidth, and your sense of stability. And this is exactly why socializing can feel so utterly exhausting. So maybe what we call social anxiety is not simply a personal weakness. Maybe it is not just insecurity. Maybe it is not even, in its deepest form, a disorder. What if it is your body remembering what it was built to do? What if it is an ancient protective system trying to keep you connected to the group at all costs? If that is true, then the first thing we need to change is not our personality. It is our interpretation. The next time you feel that overwhelming anxiety before a social event, do not rush to attack yourself. Do not immediately conclude that you are weak, broken, or defective. Do not force yourself to keep performing once your energy is gone and then shame yourself for needing recovery. That reaction inside you is not proof of failure. It is your ancient internal guard doing its job. It is an evolutionary echo from a world where belonging meant life and isolation meant death. Your body is trying, in the only language it knows, to keep you safe. And that also means something practical. When a high intensity social event ends, recovery is not laziness, it is regulation. You need to deliberately manage your return to calm. You need to step away and create a low pressure, absolutely private emotional container for yourself. A quiet space where you can safely unpack all the tension, all the vigilance, and all the regret that social overthinking leaves behind. That might be a dedicated emotion journal, a private digital diary, a silent walk, or simply sitting in your room with no one asking anything from you. What matters is that there is no judgment there, no performance, no audience, just enough safety for your system to stand down. You need a place where you can slowly and deliberately restore the mental energy social survival has consumed. And more than that, you need to tell that ancient guard in your mind something it has never heard before. The world has changed. The fire is warm now. The tribe is not about to leave you behind. You do not have to earn your right to survive today. The alarm can turn off. You are safe.